Okay guys, so as you can see for this lesson, we're actually back in the school workshop. Very different during this lockdown period. However, it's important for us to remember how we use the tools. Now, all of these tools you used last year in year 7 to create the plane. You should remember the tenon saw here, the coping saw here, the chisels here, and then the mallet. All right, now we're going to use all of these for part of the Year 8 project that we're doing at the moment. Now, of course, you're not actually making anything. You haven't designed anything, you can't. But what I want to do today is show you exactly what you would have done. Now, you would have started off with a piece of pine wood just like this, okay? Now, if you notice, we're actually dealing this time with diagonal cuts. Now, when you were doing the plane, it was all straight cuts and then chiseling. The idea being is that you were going to create something like this, where it was on a tilt, so that when it stands up like that, you can see it's angled. Okay, now believe it or not, just that tilt confuses people. So what I've done here is, you can see I've marked out the top. Now you should be able to tell me the tools that I would have used for accuracy. Okay, I'd have used a tri-square to get these lines nice and accurate, and that's ready for chiseling. I've then got this cutout here that I want to remove, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But let's start first of all with the chiseling. So first of all, my wood has been placed in a vise. Now if you look, what I've done is I've put the diagonal line so it is parallel to the vise. Now remember, when we're using the saw has these teeth, okay? And if you look, they're pointing that way, which means when I put the saw in place, it's easy to pull back and then much harder to push forward. But pull back creates the groove, and then push forward does the cut. Now, I've cut out my 3 lines here, and then this is ready for chiseling. Now, I've got 3 chisels here, and 3 different sizes. It didn't matter in year 7 which one you used, but it does now. Now, this one, the bigger one, is absolutely fine because I'm taking this top part off here. Now, if you remember, the chisel has this chamfered edge, as you can see there. That chamfered edge needs to run just like this, at 45 degrees, so it's flat, sorry, so the chisel is at 45 degrees, and you can see that flat edge just running straight. That means that it's not going to go down, it's not going to go up when you do the chiseling, but you're going to create a nice flat surface. Now, what you can see here is, you can see the chisel is creating this nice flat surface here, which is exactly what we want. Now, the reason why we put those cuts in is so that we can chisel a small piece at a time. Now, it's good that there's 3 cuts because remember we said only go halfway. So what it means is I can cut these 2 this way and then turn it round to get the other 2. You never want to be chiseling so it's going out the back that way, because then you're going to shatter all the wood on this side. Remember, it's natural wood, it's weak along the grain, which means that as you're hitting it, we can often get splinters and chips coming away from here. So it's always important that we're working this way and this way towards the middle. Now remember, when chiseling, we never try and take it all off at once. Notice I've only taken the top little piece off here. If I try and take it all off along here, most likely I'm going to crack and split the wood. Little bits at little intervals for more accuracy. So once that part's chiseled away, it does look a bit rough, and I could keep chiseling little bits away, but actually what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to go onto the sander, and I'm not taking a lot of material off, just the surface, the top surface here. Now you should still be able to see a little bit of red pen along here. And remember, we spoke about tolerances. I have purposefully stayed a little bit away from the pen line so that when I take a millimetre off, which is all it needs on the sanding machine, it means my product is nice and accurate and I've gone up to that line. Remember that tolerances lesson. If you're not sure about that, go back and look at it. Now, speaking of tolerances, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you look here, you can see I've used my tenon saw to cut inside the pencil lines. Now, this was going to become a slot joint, so we're going to put a piece of wood in here. Now, as we know, a slot joint needs to be tight, okay? So actually what I've done by cutting inside the lines, like you can see there, it means that it's going to be too small, but I can use a file to take 0.5 millimeters off each time, so I can file it down to the pen lines to get it perfect and accurate, so that we have that compression on the joint. All right? Now I've got two ways of taking this middle part out here. I could use a chisel, in which case this one is going to be too big. As you can see, that's not going to work. That's where I would need my smaller one. And what I could do is at an angle, come along like this and chisel this section out. Or what I could do is I could use my coping saw. As we know, the coping saw can turn corners. Okay, so I can use this coping saw like so to cut it out. Nice and gently, nice and easy. And that just comes out like that. Okay, now as I said, I'd use a file to finish that off. But that's a little recap on all the tools that you should have already known how to use from year 7. Hopefully you found that useful. What I need you to do now is go back on to show my homework and answer the questions that I've put on about this particular video. Hope you're keeping safe, and I'll speak to you next lesson.